Copenhague Wars en principio, vaya, se decía estos ya están por atrás, antes que MYM y tal. Y de repente empezaron a ganar un par de partidos, empezaron a coger confianza. Y de repente los veías por la parte de arriba. Y en principio decías, ¿qué hace Copenhague Wars ahí, no? Porque tú tienes la mente de que eran de la parte baja. Pero la verdad es que últimamente sí ya se ha hecho más normal que esté en la parte de arriba. Y creo que tiene un jugador bastante que han mejorado mucho sus jugadores a lo largo de Split.
Welcome back to the European LCS, where we're burning the midnight oil here in Berlin, Germany, with 5 games down and 1 more to go. It can only mean we've reached everyone's favorite European LCS tradition, season-end tiebreakers. Now, the extra match is a best-of-1, so these teams will have to leave it all on the Rift. And for our next game between Meet Your Makers and Giants, it's Go Big or Go Challenger, which Stress knows a thing or two about. MYM did win the coin toss on stage here earlier. That means that they will be on the blue side. And let's start by talking about MYM, as both teams have looked very impressive today, but for me, maybe MYM has looked more impressive the last couple of weeks, but today especially, probably Corey has stepped up and kind of lived up to what we thought we would have seen from him more this season.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see if he can keep up the performance that he did last game. He actually played Ahri, basically like the team fights and stuff, and positioning was close to perfect. Like, he got the flanks and got onto the right targets, and that's like, a lot of people overlook that and be like, oh, like he didn't do laning phase that well, or blah, blah, he didn't kill in the laning phase, but it's like, after laning phase, that's where you can really, really carry your team. And I think Corey showed up a lot last time, so I hope he can do it again.
Yeah, as you mentioned it, the one flank he had in the very first Dragon fight gave them 3 kills and basically solidified their lead for them. On the other side, Stress Pepinero, who you followed for so long and who was the guy that we were looking up to as well in that team, he seems to be the only one remaining that has stepped up consecutively, but Werlip helped him out today.
Yeah, that's been one of the biggest things about Giants today in kind of an isolated day. Forget the last 17 games. Werlib didn't even need the Jax. He just said, hey, I'm going to play, Hecarim and make sure we can get into the fights, have a great game plan. If they can execute a similar game plan here, maybe even get Pepinero onto a champion that he can do well on as well at the same time, that's a very scary prospect for Meet Your Makers, as Giants' improvements certainly shone through today, but was that a one-shot? Or can they replicate it again a second time?
As you mentioned it's what you have to do is in a mid after the team fights, but Pepinero is one of those guys who can really get an advantage in the laning phase. So if it were you or if you were the coach for Giants, would you let him go on something or an assassin and just 1v1 your opponent super hard, or would you invest more in maybe the split push later or a different approach?
From a coaching standpoint, I would expect the Giants to be a really emotional team, and they really follow off their momentum. So I would probably try to pick Peppy like either a lane stomper or just an advantageous matchup mid. They're purple side, so they can always do last pick mid. But other than that, I think a lot of this is going to be how well they draft for early game. I think if Giants win the early game, they're going to be fine and they're going to be able to snowball that. But what scares me is the Giants' early game. If they lose that, I think they're emotional, and I don't know if they'll be able to come back from MYM winning early.
And that's one reason I think that the Twisted Fate that we saw Pepinero favor yesterday is a very risky pick if they were to go for it again. It was banned earlier today. The problem with that is if you go to another lane and don't succeed in getting that lane ahead, you're basically giving away your mid lane and a side lane. And if they fall too far behind on that, we've already seen MYM. They did the team fights very, very well today, and that'd be a tough position for Giants to be in.
Yeah, and also the unsung hero kind of an MYM is Horo. A lot of the pros that have, or the ex-pros that have been on here, and well, actually Amazing is still a pro. Amazing and Cyanide I was referring to, sorry Maurice, has said, well, he kind of, you're never going to see him get MVP because his team hasn't been doing well, but he is really the backbone of that team and he can really get going. In terms of nerves and experience, I think you hit the nail on the head. The Giants, they came out of Challenger, they've had some LCS experience under their belt, but I do see them getting a bit more nervous than MYM in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think nerves are going to be it, but also this is kind of a, like, yeah, it's do or die for both teams. So this is where, honestly, I can see the nerves like either be erased instantly or be like tenfold. I don't think there's really going to be a middle ground. I wouldn't see teams play uncharacteristic. It's either going to be snowball in one or snowball in the other.
All right, we'll see how it turns out. And as we head to the desk for picks and bans, let's look back and hear some of the pros' very own highlights of the spring split.
A mí lo que más me gustó, se me ha quedado, Fue cuando vinimos aquí, la primera semana, no teníamos ni idea de cómo era esto, era en plan, primera vez, y cuando llegamos, pues era en plan, nos van a reventar, vamos a perder. Y claro, llegamos, hicimos un 2-0.
Giants opening week in the LCS is flawless, 2-0, both one-sided victories.
Pretty much, once we got casting, we just went 8 victory and 0 losses.
H2K steamroll over the Copenhagen Wolves.
8 wins in a row now.
For myself, it's definitely sometimes going like 10 or something with LeBlanc, like those moments getting MVP, that has been like super like great for my confidence.
The highlight of the split was the second game versus Fnatic. That game was really crazy. We got first blood and the game seemed to be in our favor, and then two of us died, and then all of a sudden we were actually losing.
I was pretty angry with myself at that point. I was even face-palming into the camera a few times. They luckily didn't manage to finish off that.
We were just like, stop the raid boss, everyone is coming, we just need to fight them like one after one.
At 33 minutes, Fnatic are taking down the Unicorns of Love.
No!
A few more hits.
What?
What? Unicorns of Love defend their Nexus.
And then we turned the game around.
He can't find Fnatic. Steal back. He's looking for power of evil. Unicorns have done it. Unicorns have beaten Fnatic.
I think this game had like a really high level of excitement, and it lasts for like forever. And I think it's gonna be hard to top that.
I never knew my voice could go that high. No, but seriously, that game destroyed me. It is by far my favorite memory of the Spring Split. Regardless of all the good, happy memories, it has led us to a game that determines the fate of one team.
Yes, MYM and Giants now. 18 games played, leading up to this one best out of one here. Winner goes to promotion tournament, can defend their spot in the LCS. Loser is out and down in the Challenger Series.
It does not get more intense than that. Meteor Makers won the coin toss, elected to go on the blue side, and Deficio straight out the gates. Pepinero is not going to be able to assassinate anyone's here.
With Worlib looking so good on Hecarim earlier today, that's another ban suddenly. And normally you would look at LeBlanc, Twisted Fate, Jax against Giants. Now Hecarim has to be considered in there for Meteor Makers unless they want to first pick one of the champions. I could see them leave LeBlanc open and take that as the first pick. Seems like they're not even gonna ban the likes of a Jax, Diana being banned. I didn't really think that was too important. Pepinero had an okay game on it, but it was more about Worlib on this Hecarim here, destroying people left and right.
Well, let's find out what Worlib gets his hands on. Jack's still available. Lulu taken off the table. That Juggernaut-style composition not likely. And of course, removing Noxiax Leona is going to be very important.
Okay.
Rydell, no Annie. But Jax is up. Maybe they're trying to bait it.
JWoww is a Jax player, but yeah, they can also bait it. And whenever Giants play Jax, you know what the strategy is going to be. Camp for the top lane, get Worlib ahead so you can become a split pushing monster. And you can play around that fairly easily. You can like counter gank it, or you can just yourself play super safe and then get advantage elsewhere on the map. Because if you know the jungler is going to be on the top side, you just go and gank the bottom lane. And we know Mr. Rales has been a fantastic AD carry ever since Noxiac joined. I'm quite happy Leona's banned away from him. I feel like he picks it no matter what, and sometimes it even backfires for Meteor Makers, so I think he's going to be happy about that ban.
Well, we'll have to see whether or not he can perform. He's played Braum in the past. We'll see what he decides to fall back to. First pick was Sejuani. Safe in the jungle. Nidalee still up. Rek'Sai still up. Frederick's played a fair amount of Rek'Sai.
Yeah, but if you notice MYM on 5.5, it's always double tank. Horo talked about how Nidalee is still good, but risky. If you make one mistake, if you fall behind in the early game, you're out of the game. The double tank, they scale into late game. They had the Gragas in the last game, now Sejuani in this one. Worlib has to decide Hecarim or Jax. Which one do I want to try and carry on here? I would gone for Hecarim, 100%.
I agree with you there, Deficio. Hecarim has seemed to be more successful. The fact that it's Teleport Ignite makes me think it's going to still be the Hecarim.
There it is.
And Pepinero getting his hands onto that Ahri, his tried and true. Had some great plays roaming in the past.
Yeah, but LeBlanc is open. And
Corey went huge with it earlier today.
Whenever we see that here in Europe, this matchup, Ahri into LeBlanc has all the advantage early on, and they tend to use it to snowball. Febvin into Frog, and that was a very
one-sided matchup in favor of Febiven and Fnatic in that case in this LeBlanc-Ari matchup here. Of course, Febiven on the LeBlanc. So that could be an option for Corey. Victor is, of course, disabled here in 5.5, so he won't be able to pick that one, even though he's looked really good on it. And you can also just go for a completely different champion.
Well, Picks and Bans has gone the opposite direction of anything that we had expected. I do, however, fear the potential of that Glacial Prison plus Petrifying Gaze. There is so much AoE CC that can come down from Meet Your Makers. And we'll see whether or not they can make it work. The scary thing is, can they handle the flanking Power Pony?
And that's the big question here, because a Home Guard TP Hecarim can almost one-shot a Cassiopeia in the start of a fight. We saw how Giants played with it earlier today, where they always managed to have at least 1 or 2 wards around the dragon. Then they started the fight, he waited in base, he TP'd in, and he just one-shot a carry. That was, of course, against the Copenhagen Wolves. MYM cannot get into that situation where they can't see where the TP is coming from, so they cannot block it. Again, what you do is when Hecarim TP's in, you have your big tank charging in towards him. This stops the Home Guard so he doesn't get that extra damage. And then he can't really one-shot your carries.
Well, Giants lock in Sivir and Thresh. They've got the flavor of the team composition that beat Copenhagen Wolves earlier today. Mobility, aggression, engage, with Leona and Annie off the table. Rydell's going to be looking for those death sentences to set up the fights. Who do they lock in as their jungler? Will it be Rek'Sai? Will it be Jarvan? Will it be something different? That's the final question Giants will have to answer.
Rek'Sai would be fine here for them. They have enough engage already, so that gives them a very good early game they can use to snowball, because there's a very mid-game focused composition with the Ahri, with the Hecarim, of course. But Meteor Makers, they tend to do the same. They got the Graves already. They, of course, have fantastic late-game scaling in the mid lane. I would prefer a Maokai coming in for JWoww. I think he's been very good on that champion, and he's not been a carry type very often for Meteor Makers. He can play that style, and he has had some good games on Aurelia, on Fizz. I do still feel like Maokai has been his best pick in that top lane, and when they run this double tank, that's normally when Meteor Makers performs really well. But clearly, he wants Aurelia into Hecarim, despite that matchup often being regarded as a bit of a matchup in favor of Hecarim, because you can stand on the minions. So Aurelia is not able to jump the minion with Q, get to you and stun you, and then have the second Q for when you try and run away. You can just stand on these minions all the time. She will always Q you, and then you just run away from her if you don't want to take that one-on-one fight. But we're going to have to see how it plays out. JWoww, of course, is a fantastic Aurelia player.
A little bit of doubt creeping into Divisio's voice when it comes to the Meteor Makers team composition.
I just feel like when you run double tank so often and it works so well for you, why go away from it? And Maokai as well is so strong here. Whenever Hecarim engages in, Maokai dives into the backline of Giants, locks down to Sivir, lock down an Ahri who's jumping around with just Twisted Avant onto him, and you can suddenly blow him up. So I feel like Maokai would have been a better pick.
Well, for Meteor Makers, Noxiac is the only really predictable one in the lot. He does default to Braum, seeing as though Leona was taken off the table. We thought it was going to be a Rek'Sai for Frederick. He has, however, continued the theme of engage, and it is Vi in the jungle. Diamond, the only other real EU jungler, falling back to Vi.
But
for Giants, it's just all in all the time.
It's the same kind of setup. If MYM goes into an objective, let's say the Dragon, and don't have proper wards down beforehand, Giants will find the TP to get into the flank. They will have the Vi charging onto the backline. There's only a Braum and then the Cassiopeia ulti to defend yourself. Otherwise, Mr. Rydell and Corey, they're on their own in that sense. Aurelia's going to dive in. Sejuani's going to dive in. These two carries have to position themselves so perfectly. Otherwise, Giants is going to blow them up instantly.
Difficult situation for Meteor Makers. Corey, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Corey, because even in their losses, this is a mid laner who has shined. He has shown he can position correctly. He can flank correctly. I incorrectly said he played LeBlanc earlier today. He played Ahri, in fact. And his flanking was absolutely phenomenal. He was always in the right place at the right time. Not going to have that same freedom on a Cassiopeia.
Oh, no.
But we'll have to see what he can do. Guys, at home, for one last time in the regular season, which team will be advancing to the promotion tournament, or which team will be going to the Challenger Series? Hashtag MYM win. Hashtag GIA win. We'll see what you guys think in game.
Why am I doing this?
You're as nervous as the players are.
Kind of nervous here. I mean, the fact that the loser is out of the LCS. scary, scary things for the players here. I mean, you think promotion tournament is scary, but that's the best out of 5. So even if you lose one game, you're like, okay, guys, we can still, you know, come back here. We can still win and get into the LCS. That won't happen for one of these teams.
It won't, but the thing you do have to call out, yes, it is a difficult situation to be in a best of 1 to defend your spot, but this is the 19th best of 1. This is,
of course, you had 18 games to get here.
A season that's been fraught with frustration and difficulties for both teams on and off the rift.
Just very different approach though from the teams. MYM came in and people expected him to do fairly well because they showed some good games last year when they had Corey, when they had Mr. Rales, they had MYM in the start as well. So
advantage Giants.
You can very often talk about it. Was it right to kick Kasing and Impaler for them? I mean, obviously Kasing is doing so well on H2K now, but people still expect MYM to do well. People looked at Giants and said, okay, they're going to be a bottom team. They're the last team to qualify for the LCS. They came in and said, we're not expecting anything. We just heard Whirlip here before say we came in and thought we were going to lose everything, and then they won 2 games in the start. So it's been very different, the expectations before the split. And of course, MYM has had 99 problems. Now, Giants might be one of them.
I have nothing to follow that up. That was beautiful.
Really? Thank you.
History teacher Deficio laying down the wrap. So, take a look at this. Head-to-head lanes. It looks like, as we can see, Rydell and Adri, they want to interrupt the Krug's attempt by Noxiac and Riles, and it looks like they will at least stop the big Krug.
Yeah, Riles got the small one, so that's 1 minion less he needs before he hits level 2. Let's see if that's going to matter anything, or if Giants can manage to get a push rolling here.
Well, we'll find out. Adri with some very fast auto attacks already. Riles and Noxiac backing away from those minions. If you take a look at the top lane, Whirlip is already in lane farming, where JWoww is doing a camp and just starting to back, so a little bit of extra time alone in lane.
A little bit different start. Wicked started with Flask on Aurelia and then didn't buy any items early on. Then he did the camp, he got a ward, he got a few potions. JWoww here starting Doran's base, so he's definitely looking to play aggressive in the laning phase. Gonna get out sustained by the Hecarim, however, but confident he can take some better trades. And of course, because the Wolf camp takes quite a while for Aurelia, Whirlip managed to push and get level 2 before the TP came in.
Alright, Jungle clearing as best he can. A little bit low in contrast to Frederick. Shield Vi gonna do some work. Buff to blue, and the other side, Horo blue buff to red.
Yeah, and it's really fun again that MYM goes with Aurelia now when it really matters. Because I was looking at like damage done for the entire team. And it's very standard. You have about 22-23% damage from the top laner, and Corey doing a lot of damage here, forcing a flash. But that's standard, like around 22% from the top laner. JWoww has the lowest amount of damage of any top laner in the LCS compared to the rest of his team. He's only doing like 16% because he's playing these big tanks often. And then they anyway swap him away from it, put him on Aurelia, really say, we know you can be a carry. So clearly trusting a lot in JWoww, who obviously joined mid-season, replacing Mimer, who still, I believe, works with the team as an assistant. Or
there was ever a time to make something happen. It is in the tiebreaker scenario. Corey with a very early advantage in that middle lane. 2 utility summoners in that Ghost and Flash, already forcing Pepinero to back early. Double Dorans for both of their respective lanes. And we did catch a glimpse there of the trading between Adri and Rydell. It seems that early pushing, favoring Adri. He's got himself a small CS advantage. But of course, that is a testament to the lane setup. Noxiac not going to offer a whole lot low level against Thresh.
No, and against Sivir as well, who has the spell shield to block. Basically the only way of engaging as a Braum onto her. Connecting that Q in the start. Corey still, as you said, controlling this lane is going to be so important in this game. If he dodges around the main engage from Giants, then he will be able to destroy them. But that's going to be tough when you're against a Hecarim and Vi, Sivir buffing up the team.
Well, I think all of that space and assistance from the rest of Giants is going to be needed. Pepinero took a long time to get to confident levels of plays throughout the split. It was only really in the last 2 or 3 weeks that he really started to shine and outperform. And he's not started well. Whether or not that doubt will creep into his mind We'll see in a minute or two. Horo and Frederick almost run into each other. Noxiac is going to eat that death sentence, but nothing further. And again, just a little bit of control for Giants bottom lane, which I think is important, considering how Noxiac had been the game changer for Meteor Makers.
And also because Adrian Rydell has really struggled or have struggled in the laning phase. If you look at the last few games they've played, them doing well is a good thing because it also means Frederick don't have to worry about the bottom lane and he can look towards Whirlip, who is playing a carry top laner again. If you get that early Trinity Force on Hecarim, he can really win games for you. So I like how Frederick is putting his focus around the soul laners.
Good play.
Rallis taking quite some damage.
300 HP on Rallis.
No potion for him. Archery just popped his now, so definitely an HP advantage for them. Horo is setting up for counter gank here. It's going in on Frederick.
Well, Corey's going to throw the poison out, and Frederick instantly flashes to safety. Another summoner spell blown, thanks to Corey's Cassio. Noxiac eats another death sentence. Just looks like he's doing it on purpose now. 13 CS down. Mr. Rolls has got a couple in front of him, but starting to feel the pinch is Rydell and Audrey. So got some mana to play with. Rydell still with a biscuit to nom on. But no more sustain from either of the AD carries. Any more poke? It's going to put them in summoner heal range.
Yeah, and that's so scary because Giants can then come down with Frederick, or they might not even need him, but if they force back MYM, they can start a fast dragon for themselves. And what they did earlier today against the Copenhagen Wolves was getting these early dragons and then play around going towards 5 dragons and keep forcing team fights. Because if you force them to fight around a dragon, you can place these deep wards behind it in the enemy jungle, and that sets up these teleports so well for Hecarim. So if Giants gets in that position where they start forcing fights on MYM, that's where it becomes really, really tough. Frederick now, he might start this dragon. TP already used, but you can see the bottom lane is pushing completely. Rallis is not going to be able to join. He's out of mana. He's down to 50% HP. So this could be a free dragon for Giants.
Definitely looks to be that case with Horo moving
JWoww
north and JWoww top. So fairly smart decision here from Giants. Going to grab the first map objective of the game, despite the fact their lanes have had some mixed results. Even top, falling behind middle, advantage bottom. And we'll see whose strengths will shine through as the game continues to progress.
Bot lane advantage was all they needed to take the dragon. Rallis has been able to get near the 55 CS mark, which is what you need if you get every single one for the BF sword. Very important for him on this Graves. So while, yes, he's falling behind, yes, he gave that first dragon, it's not the end of the world for him.
Definitely not.
Let's just see what the tower is on, because they've been pushing it down a few times, only taking a little bit of damage. Let's ignore that one.
It doesn't really look like Audrey and Rydell have been focusing the tower, to be fair. Every time we catch a glimpse of, they just seem to be trying to poke Mr. Riles and Noxiac. Trying to just keep them low. Horo's got access to that Glacial Prison. Petrifying Gaze up for Corey as well. Pinero still got that flash, but the Battle Pig moving his way into the jungle. Red buff just secured there by Frederick in the last second, so nothing gained for MYM.
Horo has done a very good job playing around the pink wards on the top side. He defends his own one in the bush here next to the mid lane, and now he cleared the one from Giants. So small advantage for MYM here, and that will make it a bit harder for Frederick to find the right gank, because there's a higher chance of him getting counter ganked. He's not spotted yet, I believe, on this top side. But, oh, he might have been, because there's a ward in the tri-bush, and Horo's already sitting ready. Let's see if JWoww can bait this one.
So both that respective top lane junglers with their ultis.
Remember, once a Vi's popular ulti and gone in, she's not going to get out again. Like, she's going to be stuck in there, and that's where MYM can turn around and kill her if Giants goes for anything. But Frederick might just sit here and wait for a gank himself and be like, I'm going to counter gank as well, and then nothing is really going to happen from it.
It feels like both of these junglers are reading their opponents relatively well. How deep does JWoww go? He's going to stop moving into lane. Horo is going to be in range. This is going to turn into a 2v2.
There you go.
Breaker's being charged up. Whirly's going to jump in. He's dashed in. JWoww, Transcendent Blades is out, and Frederick's chasing. Onslaught of Shadows is out. JWoww is down low. Giants are going to get first blood. It goes to Frederick, but he's going low. Horo is trying to get a kill back. Down to 110 HP as Corey flashes. He's got one. Petrifying Gaze slows Whirlip. He's throwing out the Twin Fangs. He's got the red buff to slow, and the poison and the ticking is going to be a double kill. 1 for 2. Corey has arrived.
That was very important. We saw how JWoww, he was trying to bait this one, but I think he got caught a little bit off guard, had to run down the river and flash over the wall. We didn't really get to see him collapse on Frederick. It didn't matter in the end because Corey was running from the mid lane, and lane has been winning since level 1 basically. Noxiac here taking a lot of damage.
Eats another death sentence. Exhaust trade back and forth. Noxiac is low. One more auto attack secures the kill. Mr. Rolls, can he get Audrey? The answer is yes. Turns his attention to Rydell. They've traded 80 carry for 80 carry, and Rydell has got enough HP to escape as well as summon a flash. But they trade kill for kill.
Very important plays here. Rydell's got that kill. He can now push in the wave while Audrey is dead, and he can at least deny some CS as well. Frederick might want to do something. There's no ulti though in his bottom lane.
Well,
that roam from Corey, getting that double kill, already winning his lane, that is so important for Meteor Makers.
Well, Lib continues to trade with JWoww. He's going to eat an equilibrium strike. He needs to throw out that spam. This is a matchup that JWoww is doing relatively well. I don't know what else you're really going to call Hecarim Q. This is non-stop. But every time we look top, JWoww seems to be coming out ahead in those trades.
At least very close, but the big difference is going to be more the team fighting impact. And that's where Hecarim is going to do so much more if he gets off a good teleport for Whirlib. And he can also speed back into his lane. So yeah, going standard route, early home guards, and then you go for Phage, so you get even more speed, which gives you more damage.
I think our observers are fans of Robot Unicorn Attack, because every single time this skin on Hecarim with home guard runs out of base, we follow it.
Yeah, we just need more
That's
Rammus.
fine, it's good, I like it.
We need Rammus with home guard, Powerball.
So let's take stock of the situation, Deficia. 12 minutes on the clock, 600 gold advantage to MYM. Dragon 1 went to Giants after the advantages Audrey and Rydell garnered. If you look at CS, small lead for Corey. Pepinero was able to farm his way back up, but obviously 2 kills for the Cassio.
Yeah.
Audrey's small advantage, not growing, it's remained at the same level. And look at this, jungler for jungler in the same spots. I think Frederick avoided the vision though.
They're once again reading each other here. No ward in the side bush. They're going in. Horror's here.
The flash flame. Noxiac eats the death sentence. The Sultan battery comes down. Early teleport coming up for Whirlib. But is it going to be enough? Audrey is in full retreat. That's 2 kills for MYM as Whirlib is caught between 4 members of Meteor Makers. Boomerang Blade is out. It's not enough. A 3-for-1 trade. And Corey is not done yet.
Looking for more. Yeah, Audrey is under his tower. Might be safe here. Corey also has to worry about this mid lane where Pepinero is pushing. But we talked about how once Vi goes in, she's going to stay there. She's not getting out again. MYM with the counter gank. TP came in from JWoww as well. They turn it around completely. 2 kills from Mr. Rales now. Catching up in farm as well. Very, very good plays for Meteor Makers. Reading where Frederick is going and always ready to counter gank it. Yes, that is once again Hecarim with home guards.
So Giants now fall behind. 1,500 gold from 1 team fight. Touched on the team fight presence of that Hecarim. I don't really know if that counts as a team fight or a gank, really, but unfortunately it was not enough to engage over that Glacial Fissure from Noxiac's Brown. Pink ward down for Rydell as the dragon spawns. Look at the positioning. No TPs for either top laner. Pepinero's on the opposite side of Meteor Makers. I feel like MYM should be able to get control of this river, though they don't have Mr. Rals.
It is in favor of them if both top laners stay top lane because of the importance of Hecarim here and because Corey is so far ahead already on this Cassiopeia. He's even gotten to go Rod of Ages. There's been basically zero pressure on him in the lane. So gone very early for that one, getting it stacking. You can see Meteor Makers have gotten control around the dragon. If they do find out the Giants are doing this blue buff, that's going to be a free dragon. But for now, I don't think there's any wards spotting this. It's a quick little turnaround and a nice little play from Giants.
So, safe play from MYM. That allows Pepinero to steal that blue buff. Whirlib clears the entire camp. We'll get the timer on it. I don't know if Horo actually stole the blue himself. First one coming out of the jungle, but we'll have a look at that in a second. As JWoww is going to land that equilibrium strike and put some more pain down into Whirlib. Teleport still nowhere near, and nor is Giants, so this should be an MYM Dragon.
Yeah, again, even if Giants moves in, they're going to be weak in the 4 versus 4 because of how far ahead Corey is already, and how strong he's going to be in these early fights. when I cast you up here. She's one of those champions that is fantastic late game, but she's not weak in the laning phase. She's not weak in the mid game. She has good damage output pretty much all game long. So Giants decide to just back away from this one, yeah.
And you see Pepinero, because he stole that blue buff, Frederick secures his own, in fact. So a little bit of an advantage to Giants, but they're still down in gold. Every aggressive play Giants have made has been countered. The dive top onto J1 Horo results in a double kill for Corey. The dive bottom into everyone from MYM results in a double kill for Mr. Roll. So Giants have to be very careful to give up all that golden kills. And this time around, Horo is in the bottom lane and there's no support from Frederick. We do see the Glacial Fissure land, the Glacial Prison connects, there's Glacial everything. As Mr. Rolls gets his third of the game, Audrey gets exhausted, they're tower diving this one. Horo's got the aggro and Audrey's going to be able to get away. Reply kill in the top lane, Onslaught of Shadows was in fact used by Werlip, but nothing else from the Giants, and a minion wave just pushes to the tower. So another kill to MYM in the bottom lane.
Yeah, it will be tower as well. Will be tower for them. So MYM once again coming out ahead in these plays. And it's fun because earlier in this split here, before Noxiac joined, we never really saw medium makers respond in terms of counter ganks. We never really saw them have a plan. And once he's joined and once it seems like everyone just have more confidence and been obviously doing a lot better in practice, they suddenly read the map so much better. With J1 now, he's a little bit on his own up here. There's not going to be too much help. Rydell and Pepinero moving from the mid lane as well. It's going to be a 1v4. Oh, yeah.
He's going to try flash away. There's so many people coming up. I think J1's going to die. That's my professional opinion. It was a really difficult prediction to make.
It was.
But Giants invested a lot of time, a lot of resources.
Yeah, but the good thing for Giants was, if you look at the map, nothing in the bottom lane. Tower's already gone, so that's really not any lane where they can lose anything. In the mid lane as well, Pepinero and Rydell had already sat there and killed the wave. So there was 0 lanes MYM could pressure while you went for top lane. And that's why it was just basically a free kill and a flash forced from JWowws. So good little play from Giants there. Not the first time to try and gank him.
And with the fact that Giants were able to take that top tower a few minutes ago, they're still in touching distance of gold. 1,000 only the difference. Trinity Force completed for Werlip, as well as those home guards ahead of JWow, who's actually gone for the Berserker's Greaves. If you ever wanted to see carry top laner, we do see the first trinket upgrade was on JWow. Fact that he lost that tower. And now we settle ourselves into rotation game. External towers still available. Top and middle for Giants, middle and bottom for MYM. We'll see who decides to focus which one first. You have to feel Giants are going to go bottom lane with Dragon coming up in the not too distant future.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the focus for them. Mid lane, Corey can set it and defend fairly easily. MYM doesn't really have any easy way of clearing the waves. It's going to be quite a few hits from Corey. Rallis needs to really position himself correctly to hit the entire wave with Buckshot as well. So it does mean Giants can get some hits on these towers here. And if they force MYM to sit in the mid lane, they can go bottom lane after, follow the wave and get some hits on that tower as well. And that's how they can play around medium Magus now. Obviously not going to be too easy whenever MYM is defending. And the bottom lane is not really pushing for Giants, so they got to send down Audrey and push that one in. And MYM obviously have to respond with Rallis doing exactly the same thing. We might just have to wait for Dragon before we see the next big fight.
Looks to be the case. Earlier today, Makers played exactly that same style. Slow and steady to take out Roccat. Giants as well. Great team fights in that game against the Copenhagen Wolves. Been less successful in the opening 20 minutes, but I think Giants have realized that. You haven't seen that same diving all-ins like we saw earlier in the match.
Well, that's very true. And now the key thing is going to be who can get to that Dragon first and start setting up vision. It's boring, but it's the important part. If you don't time your recalls correctly, let's say you delay your recalls for another minute, then you open up for the enemy team to walk in and place the wards while you're back in base. That's why MYM is recalling this early. You can see Noxiac is back in base, JWow as well. You get the pink wards, you get the item you need, and then you start moving in around now, and you fight for this area. Because as we mentioned, if Hecarim doesn't have any ward he can teleport to for a flank, it's very hard for William to get the right engage, and that's what MYM needs. They have to get in there first, not allow Giants to completely set up the area. For now, it is in control, I guess, in terms of the pink ward, but none of the teams really invested anything around the dragon yet. And there's still 1,000 gold on Pepinero and Archery, so the 2 carries hasn't gone back yet.
It's important to note because there's still 1,000 gold down. You factor in the unspent gold, and that lead gets a little bit higher. Important items completed in the last few minutes. JWoww with that Trinity Force. Righteous Glory picked up for Horo. So if a fight were to break out, Sejuani plus Righteous plus Glacial Prison is a scary, scary initiation tool. With Dragon up in 30 seconds, you can see Giants, they're backing away.
Very late, so MYM now should see an opening to get into this Dragon here. Clear that 1 pink ward, place a few wards near the blue buff of Giants, so they suddenly have the TP advantage where JWoww can come in from the side or from behind. But it looks like they're just staying in the lanes for now. Despite so many members of Giants backing away from the Dragon, even going back to base. No response yet from Meteor Makers.
Difficult decision to make.
Ping 8 now, okay, there we go.
One mistake, one team fight can make all the difference. Noxiac trying to clear out a ward, does get eaten by Death Sentence, but there's that vision control in the pit for MYM that plays into their favor, especially against that flanking Hecarim.
0 wards behind the Dragon now from Giants, which means Whirlip either has to TP to the mid, or this ward they just placed here near the entrance. MYM is gonna see that teleport, they can place Horo right in front of him, stop the home guards, and suddenly you remove a lot of the damage from the Hecarim, and your carries can easily position around where the TP is coming. That's going to be the key one. That's also why MYM keeps backing away and like look for wards around with the sweepers behind the Dragon Pit. But they have kind of given up the open area.
All of a sudden, Giants are able to get some wards in the river. MYM backed away. Whirlip heading to the top lane while JWoww continues to push the minion waves in. Audrey's down in the bottom lane. The rest of Giants trying to fend off those minions middle. We're still standing 1 tower to 1, 1 dragon to 1. 1,000 gold separates these teams. And you can really, really feel the tension between these 2 squads. Neither one is committing to anything that's even remotely risky.
Oh, it's even harder for MYM now, as they just gave Giants the entire Dragon area. Even the 2 ping wards behind the warding line from Giants means there's really no way for JWoww to TP in for a flank. And you even see them push mid lane. Now, Corey just recalled. So this mid lane tower is going to take a lot of damage. They might even try and force something on JWoww.
Pepinero is going to Spirit Rush in. Charm does not connect. JWoww's able to get away, but Frederick goes way deep. He's forced to try flash away. Does take the Lantern to safety. Tower secured by Pepinero. The box is in a decent spot, but the Glacial Fissure is going to slow everyone from Giants down. Onslaught of Shadows not going to be enough, and Whirlip gets sent to the Death Chamber. Death Sentence connects, but that's going to be almost a double kill. Mr. Rolls is now in turret range. Place of the Mountain Shield keeps him alive, but unable to secure the kills. Giants went way too deep and get punished for it.
Frederick ran past the tower to dive in while the rest of his team had already backed away. Should be Dragon as well now for Meteor Makers. So despite losing the vision war around it, they get the kills, they get mid tower, and they get the 3rd Dragon of the game. 2 for them, 1 for Giants. That was a massive play. And Giants just going a little bit too ham. Not the first time Frederick has been diving in on this Vi here and being punished for it.
All of a sudden, MYM regained control. You know, every single time Giants have made a play, it's been overly optimistic.
And really all Giants had to do was push that mid lane once Corey was back and then just go straight back down to this Dragon. You had everything around it you needed to force a team fight. You didn't need to dive into the enemy jungle between the towers. They're gonna regret that one. Still have TP home guard for Whirlip, but there's simply no objective now to force it around.
Yeah, still TP sitting on JWoww's side as well. 2 towers to 2. Both of those mid lanes went down during the last exchanges. Pepinero on this Ahri, yes, he's farming well, but he's not been impactful. He's been reeling from Corey in lane, unable to make a big play. He's going to get some uncontested time on this tower. May even be able to take it out, actually. But he needs to find the right engage, the proper flanks. The previous fight, JWoww was dipping and ducking and diving so much that even Pepinero couldn't get the damage down. That may have actually baited Frederick into the engage.
Oh, here's the Lantern. The Baron on the way out. All right, Noxiac, though, might be looking for another fight. See what the strategy is going to be for MYM. They set that top outer turret. You can just put Aurelia up there and then quickly send up your AD carry, and that tower is going to go down. There's nothing for you to lose on the bottom side of the map. as long as this wave near the tier 2 tower gets pushed out. Whirlip can teleport to defend, but you really don't want to do that at this point of the game. You need that teleport for the big team fights. You will just run out and defend it. So last auto turret up there. Easy target for Meteor Makers. Otherwise, again, we sit in a situation where we just might wait for dragons to spawn before the teams have a clear-cut objective they want to go for and start fighting around.
And the later this game goes, the scarier those team fights become. Despite the fact that MYM have won the major engages, Giants are actually ahead in towers. They're still only 1,000 gold down. That is not a lot of money. Farm is still very, very good across the board for these teams.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to these big team fights now.
Yeah.
Can MYM survive the main engage from Giants and then simply have way more damage after? I mean, Corey's going to wreck faces if he doesn't die instantly in the fight. Giants cannot keep up with that kind of sustained damage. So the question is really, can MYM disengage at first or get the jump on Giants? If you get the jump on a Hecarim and he doesn't get to use his TP, then he's going to be a lot weaker than before. And then you got some decent engage. I mean, you got the Sejuani ulti you can use. But mainly it's going to be about kiting at first for Meteor Makers, avoid the main engage, and then you turn it around once Corey, hopefully for them, has survived.
Well, MYM seem to be playing the reactive team fight position. We've not actually seen them set up anything massive themselves. They've just been punishing Giants for the very, very sort of linear team composition that Giants have put together. Could be a inspired pick and ban from MYM because of the counter-engage options that they do have available to them. Let's see what happens. Giants shoving out that middle. They are grouped up, were grouped up rather. Frederick backed off. And MYM, I mean, MYM aren't even pushing the top tower. MYM are playing so defensive. I feel like they're just waiting for Giants to make a mistake.
Basically, yeah.
Which is fine because it's worked for them thus far. But it is a scary prospect if Giants ever find that the correct engage.
Yeah, it's always risky if you allow the other team to be the proactive one and always the one deciding where to go, because that's how you suddenly get baited into a bad fight and yeah, a flank happens and you just end up dying.
And that's how GE Tigers got beat by Team WE.
I guess, yeah. Now we have Giants MYM. Probably not exactly the same, but for these two teams.
Their lives in the tournament are on the line.
That is true, that's the same. Who's world elite here, Trevor?
Well, it has to be the team with Hecarim.
That's true.
So, Giants cosplaying Team WE. Pepinero definitely not living up to the legend that was Shia in the mid lane.
Not yet.
But not yet. Okay, well played. Good save. Good save. But we are digressing a little bit. But again, it is true. There's like a spot in the LCS. That's it. That's why these teams are playing so safe, playing so scared.
It is. And Giants has honestly been punished whenever they tried to make a play, even though that's what they have to do with the way with the composition. They've been punished every time, and that really makes you nervous because you start losing confidence. Now, MYM is going to try and go for a pick in the top lane. Giants doing the same mid.
They've got Mr. Riles. Exhaust is down on Pepinero, but that's a dead Riles. That's a dead Noxiac. Shia, sorry, Pepinero's arrived. Corey stuns up 3 with a petrifying gaze. Gets a second with a poison. It does tick away kill credit. Actually was JWoww up in the top lane onto Whirlip, so they've won that engage. At the end of the day, it's a 2 for 3. And Giants come out ahead, and Pepinero lands on the board with that double.
Got the double, yeah. So we just see an engaged top lane on Whirlip here. He's on his own. Horror joins, but that means the guys in the middle have to back away. Cannot stay that far forward if you have 2 guys invested into a fight in the top lane, and that's why they get engaged on. He obviously, it's a fairly straightforward, I guess, kill Whirlip. Not really gonna do a whole lot to stay alive. Even, oh, he did use his ulti, so he didn't save it, but
right at the beginning. Wasn't enough to get him away to Fischio, but very important to note, Corey stunning up 3. If he'd had the support of Horo, how different that middle lane fight could have been. Dragon secured for Giants. They are equal footing now, 2 for 2.
And we talk about how MYM has not really been moving forward at all. Here's why. Because whenever they do, and if they're not, 4 or 5 guys together, these kind of engages will happen every time. As soon as they get these 2 guys shows in the top lane, MYM has to back away from the mid, but they didn't, and that's why this engage happened. Corey is close to becoming the hero. He gets 1 kill, almost gets down Adri as well, but just too many guys killing him here. Nice heal as well from Archery.
I thought he was dead, but kill credit was, of course, there onto Whirlib in the top lane. Corey got shut down, but 3 members it took to try single him out. Unless Whirlib plus Frederick can single out Corey very early on, the professional quote from Deficio, he will wreck face.
Yes, sir. He will. I mean, that was a 1v4, and he at least got 1 kill.
Ridiculous.
So his damage is pretty crazy at the moment. It's not like Pepinero and Audrey's going to have a lot to defend themselves against him.
300
that hourglass.
370 stacks on that aspect of the Serpent. An additional 40 AP at this stage, continuing to grow. 30 minutes on the clock, 10 kills to 7. Even on towers, even on dragons. 1,000 gold at this point. It's even on gold, effectively. And again, it's just coming to these team fights. We might see a good, old-school European tiebreaker Baron dance in the not-too-distant future. I believe, Deficio, we're going back to our roots. We being
That's what we all love. Now,
the region.
There's the first TP home guard.
Let's see what he can do. He's trying to shut down Mr. Rawls. That's a massive hit with the Rampage. Horo instantly disintegrates. Now Mr. Rawls is shut down by the Rampage. MYM are in full retreat. JWoww is burning away. Already does get a kill. They've traded 1 for 1 as Whirlib is shut down by the Battle Pig. It's a 1 for 2. Giants, despite looking like that was in their favor, unable to close it out.
Yeah, I didn't get to see what happened with the rest of Giants, but Whirlib did his job. He got to the backline. He solos the AD carries. Let's see the rest of the team. They're all 4 here from Giants. MYM grouped up as well. Engage coming in. All the damage on Noxiac at first, and then Horo, he turns around here. It's just Corey doing so much damage to them. JWoww diving in the backline after even staying alive. And they simply couldn't get to Corey because the engage was used on Mr. Rallis. He's not the guy dealing the most damage at the moment. You've got to get to Corey every single time.
Once again, Giants engage a fight and get punished for it. That's like 4 out of 5 fights this game. MYM has been able to bounce back. Nothing really changed in terms of control. Did not result in more objectives. Did not result in a lot more map presence. Vision heavily in favor of MYM.
For now, yeah.
Towards the Dragon.
Nothing really to fight for because Dragon is not here. So these wards are going to disappear before the Dragon spawns. And we're going to have the same focus. Again, Dragon respawns. 2 teams fighting for Vision. Giants has to be the one to engage. Have to try and kill Corey, who has Flash ready. Distortion enchant as well for him. So a lot of focus on mobility for him. I was about to say he's very fast, but still needs to pop that ghost. Second time Horo comes top lane. Him and JWoww trying to set something up. Lantern for Pepinero though. They keep using JWoww to kind of sit and clear the waves. He's not really been split pushing. He's just been holding the waves, and then in case someone is overextending from Giants, he goes for the kill with Horo. Otherwise he just sits back and he's just going to become a big tank in the fights. He's never going to become, as tanky because he got that Hex Stringer for him. But his job is basically going to be soak up damage.
Well, you got to give some props to JWoww. He managed to pull so many members of Giants in that previous team fight in the river. Put a lot of damage down onto Audrey as well. And managed to survive the engage. Hourglasses on both of the respective mid laners. Phantom Dancer, Last Whisper for Rawls. Audrey's got that wave clear, another BF sword to back it up. And you're going to have an explosive fight shortly. 1 minute 20 until Dragon. All of those wards from Giants have timed in the river. Still a pink ward in the pit and a pink ward near the Wraith camp in favor of Meet Your Makers.
We've gotten to that point in the game now where you also obviously need Vision on Baron, because otherwise the other team can just go for it if you go Dragon and like trade objectives. And because you have 2 dragons each, that's obviously heavily in favor of the team getting the Baron. So you gotta have a ward at least placed over there. You can see Giant already has 1, and MYM have a few placed around it. We're gonna have another fight over this Dragon, or we're gonna have a bait where the other team takes the Baron. That's gonna be the next objective. There's no teleport for Whirlib. He really needs to... Oh, Pepinero's jumping in.
Spirit Rush is only gonna connect with a Charm on Noxiac, and that's a lot of threat removed.
Yeah, that's a massive cooldown gone.
Willib is miles away with no teleport available. Meteor Makers have started off this Baron, and with this Cassia up here throwing out the Twin Fangs, that is being melted so quickly. Yeah, on the hunt is thrown out there by Adri. Frederick is engaged onto Horo. Horo's taking a lot of damage. Here comes Willib. Onslaught of Shadows over the
Giants
wall.
got it.
Noxiac is down. Baron secured by Giants as we see Frederick is now taken down in reply. Corey's golden, but he's gonna get dropped. Flashed over the wall, trying to get out in retreat. 3 members of Meteor Makers down to the 1 from Giants. Baron was secured by the Spanish Armada and Willib. He's hopping, he's skipping, he's trotting in. Corey's out of mana and in retreat. All of a sudden, Meteor Makers' play has backfired, and they pull a Giants move in this game.
That was just supposed to be like a bait for Meteor Makers to force a fight after Ari had used her ulti, and they were supposed to back away after and fight out in the open, but they stayed on that Baron here. Frederick, we've seen it time and time again. The guy is so good at smiting these objectives here. He got the Baron for his team. They got some more kills. Will get a Dragon. Suddenly Meteor Makers, despite looking to be in a very good position, stayed on that Baron, gave it over to Giants, loose Dragon, quick, well, massive advantage now for Giants.
What a change in gameplay. The first really decisive move from Meteor Makers backfires horribly. Willib made it into the pit, arguably just in time. And Frederick, of course, trying to put all the damage and pressure onto Horo Sejuani.
Yeah, but again, the whole plan for MYM was supposed to be start Baron, don't kill it. Start it, they come, we peel, we fight, they have no Ari ulti, we're gonna win that fight. I'm not sure if they got surprised about their own damage, because they poked it down so low, they had to try and smite it. And that's where Giants simply got the lead. You saw Horo staying in the pit, you know, taking all the damage, trying to be in range for his own smite. Really just backfired for them. Giants is a team who's time and time again managed to come back simply by stealing Barons or get like one crazy good team fight in the late game. They just got another one.
Up until 2.5 weeks ago, Giants were the number 9 team in Europe, and it was Meteor Makers that held the bottom spots for a much longer period of time. Giants have been struggling in the most recent weeks. Now, in the game that is the most important of the split for both of these teams, it's Giants with Baron buff, Giants with a Dragon advantage, a Tower advantage. And they are the ones looking to make plays. Teleport available for Willib. 1 or 2 more hits on this tower is all it will take. That Baron-empowered siege minions, 2 of them, in fact, firing away.
Willib and Frederick too. Pushing 2 lanes at once here with the minions getting the towers. JWoww trying to get a flank.
Looks like he's going to pull away Frederick and Willib. Noxiac unable to get anything with that Winter's Bite. The rest of Giants shove the minion wave into the top lane. And as a group, the entire team now moving away. Middle lane cleared out by Corey and Mr. Rolls. But big minion wave on the bottom lane and a juicy Brambleback to take for Willib. Another tower available if they want it.
Yeah, I think we're just going to reset. Baron buff is gone for them. Willib can just push in this one and then back away as well. Look at the gold here. Meteor Makers for such a long time had the lead. And then you see that one play around the Baron. And Giants full control, got a few towers from it. Obviously got the 3rd dragon, so once the next one spawn here, we're getting very close to the 5th dragon. We're going later and later into the game where you can start to really feel like it's just pointless. Like if you really fall far behind and you know how much this game means, it's so tough to stay focused because you know what's going to happen if you do lose. And once you start falling behind here, it's really hard for players. That's why you need like a good shot call, a good captain just telling everyone you can still do it. Wonder who it is on Meteor Makers. Maybe Noxiac.
Well, he was the man. That was a flash death sentence straight with JWoww. Not the end of the world. You prefer the flash down on your enemy top laner. Look at the grouping. Frederick's a little late to this fight. Pipinero does take that Lantern to safety. We'll need to find out what Giants can do just to wrap up that gold graph. What was a 2,000 gold lead is now a 5,000 gold deficit. Giants with that Baron have swung 7,000 gold. A couple of towers, a dragon. Still playing very respectful of Meteor Makers. You know, just as that bottom lane shenanigans was rolling out, Giants actually just instantly peeled away. They realized it wasn't the fight for them.
Yeah, I feel like they want to dive yet. Clearly on Meteor Makers. They can still just wait for these dragons and get the fights around them where Whirlip can sit in base and TP in. And I don't really blame them because Giants has been burned quite a few times already whenever they try and go a little bit too aggressive. So obviously you just want to play really safe now. I think Corey just hit 500 stacks. Let's see his AP now. 800, 40 minutes in. Yeah, only 800. Come on, Corey.
Well, Twin Fang hitting for about 400 damage before mitigation. 428 CS. It has to be on Corey.
Whirlip is in base now. They might try and go for a dive here or try and bait a fight.
Wow, he eats a charm. That's a lot of damage coming down. Teleport not channeled yet from Whirlip to Fischio.
No, there's no real deep wards for him to TP on. So there's a few in the jungle, obviously, but not anything where MYM won't be able to spot him.
Could TP to the bush where Frederick's standing.
He's sitting ready for it. He wants Meteor Makers to no, he's running out of base now, so clearly...
Teleport from behind.
Oh, now he didn't. No home guard for Hecarim.
Oh, Hecarim's going to be in the wrong place. Teleport was in fact cancelled. JWoww did TP in, so that's going to be a small advantage to Whirlip on timing, but Pepinero, a little bit of danger zone. Grabs the lantern to safety once more. Whirlip pushing out the middle lane.
This does open up again for MYM to fight around the dragon now. You don't have to worry about the Hecarim coming in from the side. Obviously Baron up into 30 seconds as well. This might be a bit of a long game, but really so much on the line for both teams.
Let's see, of course, Pepinero picking up that Rylai's Crystal Scepter a little earlier. What would you consider a standard item on Ari, but that was survivability against all that burst that MYM are putting out. And we're getting closer and closer to 5, 6 items across the board. Giants still with the 5,000 gold lead, but they've lost
MYM has no ward on Baron here. They need a ward on Baron if they want to go Dragon. And then you just put down either Corey or Mr. Rylais to solo that Dragon, while the other 4 keeps Giants away from taking Baron. But because there's a few wards from Giants here, it won't really happen. And both teams now stuck in this mid lane, waiting for the opening. Nobody's gonna split up. No TP for Whirlip or JWoww. So suddenly starting a fight is gonna be a bit harder for Giants. They have to rely on Frederick or, of course, Whirlip getting into a good position. They're going down to Dragon now. Got a ward placed on Baron as well.
Well, we're 42 minutes in, and Meteor Makers, I think it's fair to say, have not started a big fight of their own accord. The only thing they did start was that Baron play earlier, and it backfired. Oro had a couple of good ganks during the laning phase, but that is long since gone. Adri getting those crits off on the Dragon. Meteor Makers grouped up as 5 Giants, trying to surround them, trying to engage. They will do it far too late. And that hesitation allows Meteor Makers to even out the Dragons. 3
Oh, Frederick, they're going!
There goes Whirlip, Onslaught of Shadows. He's in deep. Charm catches onto Horo, and Whirlip is going to take the Lantern to safety. Corey, rather. He's low on mana. Nobody's gone down yet. Pepe does get in with that Spirit Rush. They traded back and forth, a lot of ultimates, but no kills on the board.
No kills now. MYM managed to disengage at first. Frederick didn't even find a target for himself. A lot of things being used. We reset the whole thing again. And now we play around the Baron Vision for the next fight. Not a whole lot else they can do. I mean, if you start going into a siege position for Giants here, fairly low range on the Sivir, you can't get a proper flank with your Hecarim, which means you get in a pretty bad situation to fight in, so they're obviously not going to do that. If you go into split pushing at this point here, well, you need TP ready at first, and also Aurelia can do fine in the one-on-one against the Hecarim, so you're not going to win that fight either. And it's very predictable for MYM when Giants wants to engage them, because then Hecarim obviously just leaves the lane, goes back to base, and they're like, okay, engage is about to happen. So Giants doesn't really have any other way than try and get a hard engage on.
Well, Giants have got their teleport advantage in a few seconds' time. You can see Whirlip is backed. A couple of visions, or wards rather, around the Baron pit. Noxiac eats a charm. And nobody's going to continue further. That Unbreakable Shield blocks so much damage. You know, it's a little harsh, but you can really see the number 9 and number 10 team in the European LCS battling out. No clear advantage. Vault Breaker was charged by Frederick. Learned his lesson. Once bitten, twice shy. Charm connects on
TP coming. This might be the fight.
Let's see what can happen. We do see Assault and Battery all the way onto Rolls. They're split up. Frederick is pulling the attention. Onslaught will be enough to take down Noctek. Mr. Rolls is in full retreat. Whirlip is trying to run him down. Rampage all the way through with Corey down. This might be the fight that wins it. Giants have taken 4 for no loss. And all of a sudden, the Spanish squad erupts. They're onto the inhibitor turret in 60-second death time as Giants set their sights on the win.
They were just waiting for that right moment to engage for MYM to walk up the mid lane. And this Hecarim late game is so strong. Mr. Alex couldn't do anything on his own.
Giants come back from the brink, taking out Meteor Makers, and will earn themselves the 9th place in the Spring Split. Starts, it ends as it started for Meteor Makers. Disappointing. 10th position. Automatic relegation to the Challenger Series.
And of course for Giants now, they're in the promotion tournament together with Rocket. And we'll find out who they will face later on as the Challenger Series wraps up here. Remember, of course, the winner of the Challenger Series goes straight into the LCS, replacing Meteor Makers. So, congratulations to Giants. They played some very good team fights here in the end of the game. Got burned a little bit in the start, but they were just waiting for that right moment here. Played super patient, didn't, risk anything. Then they got the fight they wanted.
The proactive team comes out victorious. I think if you review most of that game, you feel just like Yamata Cannon at the moment. Meteor Makers unable to exert any sort of real control. I'll be going back and asking questions about that Baron attempt.
Yeah.
That Giants were able to turn around.
That was really the big deal. MYM made the right call, starting that Baron after Ari had popped the ulti, but that was just, you don't even have to start it, honestly. You can even just stand in the pit, clear the ward, and don't even start the Baron itself, just to force that fight. And really, that's where it went so wrong for them. That's where it really fell behind. And it's tough. I mean,
really is tough.
You have to wonder if MYM had made, the correct changes earlier in the split. Would have been different. Would have picked up another win. We can never really say too much about it, but it's been 18 games getting to this point.
Correct.
Yes, this was the best out of 1, but there's been 18 games leading to this point.
Yep.
And these were the 2 teams who ended up in the bottom of the standings. That's why they face each other. That's why you get in this situation in the first place, where if you lose, you're out of the LCS.
And you look at Giants, all of a sudden playing super aggressive, super all-in. Both games today, much more convincing match 1. Still aggressive game 2,
for Whirlip,
but
man.
it worked.
That pick was so good, and it wasn't banned away, despite him doing so well early on. I mean, this guy deserves at least an OP5 for his performance on Hecarim.
Very, very well played from the Giants. They do give themselves one more chance. They need to re-qualify. It's going to be difficult because, of course, Giants barely made it through in the expansion tournament at the end of last year. They beat out Reason Gaming at the time, both during the first elimination and then, of course, in the second round as well. They're going to have to try and play a little bit better because the Challenger Series is looking particularly impressive. Some of those squads, you remove Origin, who you're assuming are going to win the whole thing. It's going to be tough. Not a guarantee, but they've at least given themselves a shot.
Yeah, and that's an important one, that now you can prepare for this one. Obviously going to be quite a few weeks. We're going to finish off playoffs here, and then it's going to be the week after the spring finals. We have the promotion tournament where Giants and Rocket will be playing.
Well, for a closer look at Giants' win to potentially save their skin in the LCS, we're going to shoot it down to Pyrotechnics on stage the second time today.
Thank you very much for that quick shot. Now I am standing by with Rydal of the victorious Giants Gaming. You guys have just earned a chance to get back, to keep going in the LCS. You've been saying you've been wanting to do it all split. How does it feel now that you've got that opportunity?
It feels pretty good, of course. I think we are playing better as a team. We show it a bit this week that we never give a chance in the game. Even we fall early or we fall mid-game or something like that, we're still fighting. And And right now, the feelings for the relegation tournaments are very, very good.
I'm glad you guys are feeling so well, and I'm really glad that you mentioned that you guys never give up. I don't think I've ever seen a game with either you or Meet Your Makers played with that much spirit. Like, massive congrats to playing it that way. But I want to talk about some of the standouts and what you guys have been doing the last couple of games, especially Pepinero. It seems like this guy's just been absolutely on fire. I mean, what have you been feeding him, first of all?
Well, we try. Pepinero mechanics are incredibly amazing. I never seen in my life a player playing like him. And in the team, we try to play more or less like him, like let him defar, let him play the champions who is comfortable with, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like Pepinero is a monster mechanically, and play for him, and he will do good for sure.
Well, he certainly did get in that situation. You guys all did very, very well, turning around the fights. The Baron steals just massively coming up for you guys to be able to fight for that last spot. Now, you are going to be facing off against a Challenger team. You don't know who yet in the promotion tournament. You've just come from Challenger in the last season. How do you feel about facing off against some of those teams?
I expect to face probably Gamers 2, probably Lions. I think Origin is going to make it win the Challenger Series, the playoffs. I feel pretty confident. They are not bad teams. They are really good, but this sprint gives us so much experience about how to play a team and how to fix mistakes or get motivated in match like that. And as I say, the feelings of relegation tournament it's going good. I expect us to win, but it's not going to be an easy match.
I'm glad to see the confidence. Watch out, Challenger scene. Giants are coming for you guys. So with that said, thank you very much once again. Congratulations, Rydell, on your victory here. And with that, to close out Week 9 and to close out the regular season of the Spring Split, we're going to head back to Shocks and Stress at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Pyrotechnics, and I'm actually joined by Trevor and the Fee Show as well, so we can round up everything properly. Let's touch on the game shortly, because it was actually the same game plan as Giants kind of coming in. They were allowed Werlip on that Hecarim. It was really nice for me to see that his Jax was there, it was open. Yeah. He still went for the Hecarim, knowing that they wanted to make the same plays, Trevor.
Yeah, the thing about this particular game, it was slow for a long time, but I have to commend Giants. They were really playing to win. They got punished early on for their aggressive moves, but MYM never really capitalized on it. MYM never punished Giants for overcommitting. So a lot of praise to Giants for running that style. It's what won them the game earlier today. It's what got them a shot at this tiebreaker, and it got them the shot in the promotion tournament.
I think we have to give some credit to Meet Your Makers and how they played early on, because they did get some good counter gangs in. They had quite a large goal lead, honestly. But then they made that play on the Baron. And that was really the big deal, where it kind of went wrong. They gave the Baron over. They lost 2 or 3 towers from it after. And once you are against a Hecarim, this late game against, let's say, Graves is never going to do anything. We saw Werlip just dive onto him. I think that pick itself was so important for Giants in both the games today. They shouldn't have been allowed to get it the second time.
I completely agree. The second time, fool me once, fool me twice with the Hecarim, but it was such an important evolution of Giants. That was one of the problems we talked about coming into these last 2 matchups. Finally, they kind of changed things around, looked a lot more solid as a team is one of the other things, and I really commend Giants on their game plan today because it worked fantastically.
Yeah, it did. Well, they're going to have to gear up for that promotion tournament and make their way back into the LCS. You already said that you know them from the Challenger scene. They do have a good chance, but it's going to be a lot of work, and they're going to have to work on those picks. And unfortunately for MYM, they are out of the LCS. And after 6 games, the dust has settled, and we have the final standings for the European LCS Spring Split. As we know it, SK, Fnatic, and H2K are on 1, 2, and 3. And then Gambit, the Unicorns of Love, and the Copenhagen Wolves have made that playoff spot. Elements can't be happy with their season. They are in number 7. That means that's a safe spot, but not what they had hoped for. And then we have Roccat and Giants off to the promotion tournament, and MYM was auto-relegated and will be replaced by a Challenger team. Stress, I think you have a clear guess on what that Challenger team might be.
It's a clear guess, but there's always room. There's never say never. Origin are the strong favorites going into the playoffs, but Lowline Lions, Gamers 2, they've looked pretty sharp themselves.
Before we take a look at the playoff bracket, I'd like to know from all of you, it has been quite the crazy season here in Europe, as it always is. What has been the most standout thing, Trevor?
I think the most standout thing is the fact that no matter which team you look at, number 1 and number 10, they can all still take games. Yes, the frequency is significantly lower, but Copenhagen Wolves, you would have expected to be the clear favorites against Giants as a whole. And all of a sudden, Giants upset them in the 9th hour with everything on the line. Elements, 7 and 11, what was it on the split, play 7th. They take down H2K when H2K was outperforming absolutely everybody. So you've got this topsy-turvy mentality. The thing is, it's also best of one. So the biggest takeaway for me is watching these teams in BO1s, and then we want to contrast them to BO5s, where real depth and real on-the-fly adjustment intelligence shines through.
I think standout for me will be Fnatic. Coming into the split, I was like, hey, they picked up 2 Koreans. They got February, and we knew he was good, but he's never really played in the LCS. Silverback, we didn't really know too much about. And yet they managed to become the 2nd best team in Europe if you look at the standings. And I feel the way they've been performing the last few weeks, probably the best team in Europe. I love the way they play. I love how they adapt to new patches. And I love the way they have carries in so many roles, because Huni is really a top laner who goes in and win games for your team. So I think Fnatic has been the standout team and the big surprise. And I always love watching them play.
And I also just want to quickly jump in on that. There was an interview that Yellowstar did a couple of weeks ago, where he was talking about the acquisition of the 2 Korean players. And he was saying he met Rainover during Worlds, talking to Rainover then led him to finding Huni, and then as a team and as an organization, they brought both of them over. So this Yellowstar, the captain, having to rebuild an entire team with this great gold mine discovery.
Yeah, I echo the Fnatic sentiments as well. And not just from a playing standpoint, but from a personality standpoint. I think it's fair to say that Huni Mania has been running wild over the European LCS. And to see a player integrate themselves so well with the fans, everything about Fnatic's team has been pretty surprising, but all in a positive way.
Let's also step back and look at the teams that have actually really shone through. Unicorns, a lot of people wrote them off before the spring split began. Gambit, let's be honest, we didn't expect them to place 4th. H2K came out of nowhere. So you got these middle-of-the-table teams that you would not have expected. It was going to be Rocket. It was going to be Elements. You know, those were the teams that were meant to be there, and they're not.
But the funny thing is, some of the teams you mention is also where you have to look at the coaches, which is a new addition to the LCS. And I feel like we have seen a very clear difference between certain coaches and how some of them work. Leviathan, obviously, with Gambit coming in after they had a terrible start, did really well. And then we always talk about Prolly for H2K. It's been working so well for these teams and the new coaches.
Yeah, it has. And as you said, those new teams and the new teams stepping up, we might not have expected. A couple of those are in the playoffs, so let's pull up that playoff bracket and take a look at who's facing off versus who. Of course, Gambit versus the Unicorns of Love. We saw a preview of it just yesterday, but I'm not going to say it's going to be a completely representative. Trevor, how do you think they're going into that game?
I have no idea. Like, that is a team. These are 2 teams that have been up and down. We looked at that graph yesterday during the matchup of performances and ranks over the weeks, and they either hit a home run or they flounder and get knocked out instantly. So I think Gambit are probably more stable, but Unicorns have a bigger opportunity to surprise.
I think these 2 teams, when you look at it in a best of 5, anything could happen. I mean, what do you pick and ban? These are 2 teams that Gambit used to be known for innovation. Unicorns are the team that right now are innovating. Best of 5 is going to be crazy.
Yep. And then the other game we see there, H2K versus the Copenhagen Wolves. The Fisho, you believe in the Wolves, I do believe. But H2K today, to say the best performance we've seen in their last 4 games, because they've fallen off a little bit.
I mean, in my heart, I will always believe the Copenhagen Wolves are going to win, because they're after all the greatest team out there. But H2K will be the big favorites coming in. It is a best out of 5 again, as we said, so it's very different. And if H2K is going to struggle on that patch, like we have seen them do here in 5.5, that can be a big problem for them if they don't adapt in the best out of 5 and you start banning them out. That's where I feel like Copenhagen Wolves might have bigger champion pools, but we're going to have to see once they go into the games.
Yeah, and 2 things really quickly. I did predict the Copenhagen Wolves to take that 6th spot.
You are fantastic.
It wasn't quite the way I had hoped, to be fair. But the bigger thing for me, I'm not sure if I'm on the H2K hype train anymore. I really was, up until last week, probably the biggest believer.
Can confirm.
And all of a sudden, these last 2 weeks, the latest patch, it's now throwing these spanners in the loop. This is the team that was doing so well from 5-2, 5-3, 5-4, 5-5 hits, and then all of a sudden, they just hit the brakes. So I want to see in the best of 5s, but it's this outlier case. Can they still beat an SK and a Fnatic if and when they make it there?
Yeah. Are we seeing any other final but SK Fnatic?
I think H2K could do it. I think they could. I think a Unicorns or Gambit are more likely to be beaten than an H2K against SK and Fnatic.
That's true, but I would say my favorite for going into the final is going to be Fnatic. I think SK Gaming can be exploited in a best out of 5, but it requires you to have good enough players.
So you're saying yes?
To obviously beat them.
See, the thing is,
my guess is it's going to be SK Fnatic in the final.
Hang on.
But I think Fnatic will have the edge.
Dude, SK 15-3 on the split. We've been screaming from the rooftops what their weaknesses are. They're 15-3. It took international teams to beat them.
Yeah.
I'm still going to say Fnatic as the favorite.
Maybe if they were on the other side of the bracket, SK Gaming, they would have a harder path, but we'll see how it plays out. Stress?
I think both teams are a little bit too solid right now. I predict it to be a final. I don't say it's a done deal, but they need one of the other teams needs to become more consistent pretty much in a week.
And I think we have to just talk a little bit about SK. We've talked about every other team in the top 6. Despite their glaring weaknesses, despite their glaringly unique style of play, they're still unstoppable.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Forgiven, you can ask some questions about his champions, but he's still CSing. You can look at Enrated, about his champion pool, he pulls at Nami, lands bubble off the bubble. Fox plays Katarina in the LCS and wins. Like, you know...
I agree, but the thing, what you have to remember is when you prepare for these LCS weeks, and again, it's best out of 1, you don't necessarily sit down and you completely tailor strategy just after SK Gaming. You're going to do that now for the playoffs. So if SK Gaming will only run the same playstyle but with different champions, you should know exactly what's going to happen every single time. And that's where teams can, pick a strategy around it, practice against it in some way. And I feel like it's easier to prepare against SK than it is against Fnatic. But I'm not going to take anything away. SK Gaming has been fantastic here in Europe. They deserve to be number 1. I just think it's easier to prepare for SK than Fnatic.
It's easier to prepare and to say what you have to do, but if you're any other team than Fnatic, it's almost impossible to do that. So we will see how that plays out. The spring playoffs, they begin next Saturday, April 4th, right here in Berlin with H2K versus CW in a best of 5, followed by the Gambit versus the Unicorns of Love. That will be on Sunday, April 6th. That all starts at 5 p.m. Central European Summer Time, 8 a.m. Pacific. And a reminder that you can still get tickets for the finals in Madrid, Spain. They are on sale now, and you can head over to lolesports.com/tickets and get all the info, the schedule, and of course book your tickets and join us in Madrid. Now, looking back at the final week of the LCS, SK's Fox stepped up to be your hero, your fantasy leader, so possibly also your worst enemy.
He's on my fantasy team.
Yeah, he racked up 10 kills, 13 assists, 2 triple kills as Katarina for a total of 47 points in today's game against Gambit. Trevor, rejoice.
Oh yeah, definitely. I had Febervin and I had Fox and then the rest of TSM. So my fantasy team is looking solid, still undefeated in our league.
I'm
just
so
saying.
mad about that.
It's a league where I don't think anyone really cares.
Oh, now you don't.
Everybody cares.
Now you don't. Now you don't.
Well,
you were telling me yesterday how sad you were that you weren't doing good versus Trevor.
That is true, but I have Björken as my mid laner, so he will rack up about 200 points this week, and I'll be fine.
Well, besides that fantasy leader, we also saw a number of other stellar performances today, though. Here are your final OP5 for the spring split, and it is our fantasy leader first off, SK Fox, once again on Katarina. There were, I wouldn't say question marks, but he was coming into SK as a new player, and I think on several occasions he has proven to be dominant.
Fox has grown throughout the split. The opening few weeks, he simply wasn't carrying solo. The rest of his team was helping him pick up wins, but as the weeks rolled on and he played LeBlanc more and more and more, Fox was the man who was helping SK pick up those victories.
All right, and our second OP is MYM's Horo. Unfortunately, wasn't able to shine through in that very last game, but we gotta say he's been a shining light for MYM throughout the split, no matter what.
Yeah, he's been a real workhorse, even in losses, especially in today's games as well. He was putting up good numbers, trying his absolute best out of the jungle, and I don't think it really says the whole story of where MYM ended up.
No, and the crazy thing about Horo is, despite being on now the worst team in the LCS, he has the highest kill participation of anyone. Like, he's part of everything they do on this team. So I think Horo has been a great jungler for them, and I wouldn't mind seeing him coming back next split.
Yeah. Stress with the workhorse too soon, man. They got beat by a Hecarim. The next OP player we have is Febervin. 0 deaths in 2 games as LeBlanc. We know how deadly he is on that champion, and sometimes you can't really close it out. I remember that game versus Unicorns of Love. It's hard to assassinate someone in the beginning of the split, but he was so dominant in these last 2 games.
And that's the fantastic thing, how he's adapted, and he's now become a real big carry on the likes of LeBlanc here, even in the late game, where earlier he was more, he just got like 1 kill, then he backed away, but now he's really stepped up. He beat Froggen in lane very convincingly as well today. He's looking so good for Fnatic, and he's definitely a contender for best mid laner in Europe.
And remember, he came from Challenger. Last season, he was in Challenger, comes straight into the LCS. He's got a lot more growth to go. Where's he going to end up at the end of summer?
All right, our next OP, I think the Fish Show had like a magic insight before because he called it Whirlib, making it into a P. We got to commend him on the Hecarim play today when Jax was open, making the plays all around the map.
And when it really matters, because Giants obviously had to win the games today to stay or at least have a chance to defend themselves here in the LCS. And Whirlib, this Hecarim pick was fantastic. It's the first time we see him do well on champion that's not Jax.
Yeah.
And that's been a big deal because everyone would just ban Jax and Whirlib didn't really do anything. Now he has Hecarim for himself. That's really good and really good for Giants.
All right, and then the next one we have is Fnatic's Huni, top laner who's also done a thing or two on Hecarim, but throughout the split, bursting onto the scene and impressing us all around.
Oh yeah, I tried to do my best Huni impression when they were playing against Unicorns of Love. I don't think I did it justice, but this is a guy that loves to carry. He is the quintessential carry top laner in Europe. Not as impressive on tanks, but you know what? He just plays a Cho'Gath and he just noms you to death. So Fisher, you said I was going to say it. I didn't get a chance to today, but I'll make it up to you in playoffs.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that very much.
All right. Well, of everyone on stage this week, one player really stood out in the home stretch with 11 kills, 11 assists, and 0 deaths this week in 2 games as LeBlanc. Our Week 9 MVP is none other than Fnatic's mid laner, Febiven. We touched on him already, singing his praises, absolutely deserving it. Also taking the risk, so to say, to join that Fnatic team. We were saying, how will that work out for him? He stepped up and made it happen.
Yeah, I definitely think so. You look at the Fnatic reconstruction at the beginning of the split. It was just Yellowstar, 2 unknown guys, an AD carry from Challenger that really hadn't made massive inroads into big popular teams. Febiven bails in H2K, joins Fnatic, and they play second in the split. This is a team that is consistently aggressive, and that actually plays into Febiven's playstyle. He likes to be in your face over and over and over.
Yeah, that is it for the playoffs, not the regular season here in Europe. The playoffs are just around the corner next week, but there's still some regular season action to be had over in North America as they will wrap up their spring split tomorrow, starting with a matchup between Gravity and Cloud9. Team 8 will face off against CLG, and they'll end the day with Team Impulse versus Dignitas, seeing there TSM versus Ghost. And the next day there's also playing versus Cloud9, so you'll see your Bjergsen in action once again.
Always watching, man.
I'm also
always judging him.
Always
better perform.
I'm also interested to see how well the NA guys perform. We're looking at some of the stats. Yellowstar is the only European player to qualify for every single postseason playoff out of Europe. There's a few of them in NA, including Dyrus, Wild Turtle, Link, I think is in there as well. Double Lift. I don't know if Team Liquid are automatically in playoffs yet. But yeah, so in EU, there's one guy, and there's a couple of them in NA. So Yellowstar standing through the test of time.
Yeah, and a dream to make it to Worlds once again. In any case, set your alarms now because the games begin tomorrow morning at 8 p.m. Central European time. That is not morning, and noon Pacific. It seems just like yesterday that we started the 2015 season, but from us here in Berlin, the spring split is already coming to a close. I'd like to thank Stress for joining us. I hope you had a good time.
Oh, I had immense fun. Some great games.
Yeah, it has been a lot of fun. And be sure to tune into the Challenger Series playoffs that starts next Tuesday. We promise we will. And on behalf of myself, the Fish Show, Quick Shot, and the entire European LCS team, thank you all for watching throughout this extra strength day. And we'll see you back here for the start of the spring playoffs next week.
We're getting close to the end of the regular season here. The crowd's getting hyped up. The Giants, they hit the on button. Whirlib takes down Freeze, and the Wolves are scattering in all directions. Picks up Airwalks, meanwhile, flashes burn as Airwalks are eliminated down. It's gonna follow, and I can't believe it. Giants Gaming have made this playoff race continue. Huni's trying to flank, teleport flank. There's a Rupture 3-man actually, and he's just taking a big bite out of Reckless. Fnatic have denied Elements a playoff spot in the spring split. He's not going to do anything to Kabashard, trying to get the resets. He will get some kills. Oh my goodness, a triple kill. Coming up with it, Pinoy will fall as well as Sven Scarrett picks him up. The fight's going haywire, but SK, they might have just more in the tank. Fox just goes wild. SK Gaming, absolutely #1.
There should be a champion who says get destroyed when he kills someone.
Well, does as I live, all will die. Count?
No, that's lame. Ooh. No, it is bad.
Is your mic very far away, Mike? Because everybody else.
My microphone is fine, but I can put it in my mouth if you want, just for you.
Yeah, that's better.
Do you like those in my mouth?
Yes.
Okay.
41 minutes into the game, knocking on the Nexus. Can Woolite try to push them back? It doesn't look like it. Meet your makers, forcing the 9th place tiebreaker. Inhibitor number 3 is going down. And in comes Odawane. Vizicsacsi's going to be picked off here. This could be the final fight of the game. H2K take down the Unicorns too.
MYM and Giants now. Winner goes to promotion tournament, loser is out.
Pepanero's arrived. Corey stuns up through the petrifying gaze, gets a second with the poison. Baron secured by Giants as we see Frederick is now taken down in reply. Corey's golden, but he's got to get dropped. Pulling the attention. Onslaught will be enough to take down Noctek. Mr. Wells is in full retreat. Giants come back from the brink and will earn themselves the 9th place in the spring splits.